Hi there, long time no see. I'm back today. I'm so sorry I didn't get a chance to upload a video last week, so if you are new to the channel and are watching some backlog, then you probably won't know what I'm talking about, but I've basically, as of the filming day today, I'm posting videos every Sundays. Last Sunday I didn't get the chance, and that is simply because I have had the chance for the last 2 weeks to work for a really cool company in London, and that meant that I had to do some work for them and also carry on working in my regular job, which means that I had to work on weekends as well as with the week, which was quite a big packed week. I preferred watching telly instead of filming that week because I was really tired. This is coming to an end. I've had a lovely couple of weeks and then I'm now back onto one job and this, which is great. So thank you for watching all this. Plus I'm very excited to be back because a lot of you are new to the channel. I've had a little kind of like surge in subscribers, which is nice. It makes me feel very good. So thank you very much for joining us here, and or I say joining us, just joining me and those. Today's video is going to be about morally grey characters. Morally grey characters, man, I've been wanting to do a video like this for so long, simply because they're some of my favourite characters to read. And I know it might sound a bit basic and a lot of people will say the same, but they are very interesting for a number of reasons. I'll give you my little kind of definition of it with all the information I've gleaned on the internet, a few examples as well from TVs and books and stories in general of what I mean, so you can get a taster of what I mean basically. So what's a morally grey character? It's basically those characters that feel the most humane because they have flaws as well as qualities. Typically they're kind of intermediate characters. They're neither good or bad. They can take very difficult choices which are morally questionable, but they will do it with a reason. And sometimes that is backed up with a backstory. Sometimes it's with an internal conflict. They will have basically kind of like good reasons or compelling reasons to back up their terrible acts. And I know this definition right here sounds ridiculous and you think, you know, Kerry, what the hell? Like, if you do something bad, surely you're a bad person. But hear me out there. I think the ambiguousness of them makes it so that when you read them and their actions, yes, they're terrible, but because they always have an excuse, then it feels like it's almost justified. And it's crazy because it twists your mind as a reader or as an audience. You feel like, gosh, they did this, that's horrible, but at the same time I get it because they had that good reason. And there's loads of examples. They have this relatability that makes them humane. Ultimately, that's who we are. We make mistakes, we make terrible choices, we have goodness in us, but we have this kind of like, this balance of dichotomy of good and bad, if you know what I mean. Morally grey characters are the most relatable ones, which is why a lot of people like them. And why I'm doing this video right now. So now let's give a few examples. So in my mind, which a lot of you guys will probably agree, I've got like 3 that are quite mainstream, so people can get a little nugget of taster around and you'll understand what I mean. But we have Severus Snape from the Harry Potter series, which is kind of like the main morally grey character. This is where a lot of people started the discussion on it. We have Takeshi Kido from The Man in the High Castle, which is a character that's been added to the TV adaptation of the book by Philip K. Dick. Completely created character, which I love, so we'll explain that as well. We have Rumpelstiltskin or Mr. Gold in the Once Upon a Time series, which I love as well. Okay, so let's break down each characters and you'll get a feel of what I mean by morally grey characters and why I love them so much. So let's start with the first, which is Severus Snape. So basically imagine that those reasons why we love him is like white paint, and those reasons why we hate him is like black paint. And if you merge those together, it makes grey. That's probably where the saying comes from. It's like a little artistic way of seeing it, but I think it's quite a good way to picture really what it is. And it's useful as well for people that write stories or that edit scripts or write scripts for television or things like that, just to understand that if you want to paint a morally grey character, then you need a bit of white paint and a bit of black paint. So always remember to have like reasons and backstories and explanation and acts of goodness and acts of redemption arcs to a bad character. Now, I'm not to say that if you have a baddie, so a really dark, proper dichotomy, like dark character, I'm not saying that if you give him one act of goodness and one redemption, that's going to completely turn us on our head and think, oh yeah, actually he's good. Although that's been seen, so It's possible. Or a really good character that suddenly does something really bad without reasons and then they become bad. That's possible. It's a different thing than a morally grey character, and I'd say those are probably less worked than our grey characters because they have less depth. It's not as much a build-up. Snape has done a lot of really despicable bad things. He's a bully, he's horrible with children, conspiring with the Death Eaters. He kind of sold off his best friend turned lover to the Dark Lord. He's a terrible person, right? But all throughout the books and the films, you can see that he does acts of goodness that you kind of understand at the end. So you can see that in The Philosopher's Stone, which is the first book and the first film. During a Quidditch match, Harry is having a problem with his broom that's like kind of enchanted and he can't control it. And we see Snape murmuring incantations, staring at him. Now, all the characters, including us, audience, is thinking like Snape is the reason why Harry's having problems. He's the baddie. Whereas, no, he was trying to protect Harry against, I think, Quirrell. And all throughout the books, all throughout the films, he does that. He will make you think that he is the baddie, but he's actually not. And all of his actions will be explained later on, and you get the whole reveal. But I don't think that's necessarily him being a bad character turning good at the end. I think he's always been a grey character that's kind of like sweeping and getting to redemption and his redemption arc in the end. So that's basically it. Snape is, he's selfless and he loves Lily and he'll do anything to save her son, but he's also despicable and a bully and he's a horrible person that works with Death Eaters. So you merge and you get grey. And that can be applied to a lot of characters. So let's take Takeshi Kido, for example, who is the chief inspector of the Pacific State there in San Francisco. He's obviously a Japanese agent and he's working for the Empire. And all throughout the series, he's horrible, he's ruthless, he is very violent, he will kill a lot of people, including children. He's just very difficult. He's a very hard character. But you get these glimpses at why he's doing all this, and this is why the backstory and the reasons are so important for morally grey characters, because Kido he's away from his country. He's been kind of drafted in a country he doesn't want to be. His family, his wife and children are all back in Japan, or they've been for the war. He hasn't seen them for a long time. He's craving human warmth, which later on we'll see when he's kind of like finding comfort into the character of Gina. And he's always a selfless agent of the Empire. He has a great sense of duty and he always does everything for the crown. And this is kind of the reason why you can see how he is a morally grey character, because on one hand he does despicable acts, but on the other one he serves his country. He will always put the life of his king first. He will always put his son and his family first as well. This is spoiler, so if you don't want to hear about this, just skip ahead a little bit. But at the end, his son is lost because of the war. He's completely lost his mind. He owes a lot of money to the Yakuzas, and instead of having his son be at the mercy of the Yakuzas, he takes his place. His love of his son and his family is greater than just his own self. And so that's what I mean for this character. Now, the last one I wanted to talk about is Rumpelstiltskin in Once Upon a Time, the series on ABC. I mean, I love that series and I love that character. And I think I loved it especially because it's got like a romance mixed with this kind of like redemption arc. And I'm just a sucker for it. I love swooning over a great character. It just makes me... I love it. And then again, like the pattern and the formula just applies to Rumpelstiltskin. He loves Belle, falls in love with her. He will do anything for her. And he will, all his bitterness, all his dark thoughts, all his cowardice, all of this will always be challenged by the goodness of his love for Belle and just his affection and how he wants to protect her. So that's the challenge. We hate him because he's cruel, because he curses everybody, because he doesn't care, because he's selfish and he's a coward, he will never own up. But he's meeting with Belle. His feelings for her completely turn that dynamic on its head. And I think that's what I mean also with the redemption arc kind of thing. It's like having a villain that was supposedly villain turned into that kind of martyr is why we love it so much. I think it's the martyrdom of it all. having someone just make a huge sacrifice for the greater good or for love or for, you know, whatever. That's why we like it so much. Snape ends up dying for his love for Lily and ultimately Lily's son, which is beautiful. Kido, spoiler alert again, gets into the Yakuza clan instead of his son, even though he was working against the Yakuzas for years, but he does it just because he loves his son. He's selfless. And Rumpelstiltskin will ultimately try and give up being a dark wizard for his love for Belle, and that's just, yeah, it's beautiful. And that makes me just, swoon. So that's it. That's basically what a morally great character, what I love them so much. Those are my examples. I'm sure there's loads. I mean, and I know that some people will probably say some acts are unforgivable, reasons are just excuses, but some people kind of see the humanity layer underneath and appreciate that in a writer. So let me know what you think, actually. Let me know if you love those kind of characters, if you think they're just too easy, if you think they're not realistic, or on the contrary, if you think they're just bang on. So thank you very much for sticking with me. Sorry about the video last week. I really wished I did post one because I love doing this. Actually, I'm really enjoying this. It's been a few months and it's been just lovely. I'm reading more than I've ever been, I think, doing. Yeah, it makes me really happy. So if you're enjoying yourself there, drop a little thumb up. That's always nice to see. And yeah, subscribe, because I love seeing all of you guys popping up and saying, oh, I love this, or this video was great. I will leave you to it. I will love you and leave you, and we'll speak next Sunday for another video. Bye!